Alright, this is going to be episode 46, part 2 for you guys. We're going to be switching directions. I just talked about the NBA playoffs in the first segment. Now I'm going to talk about the NFL. Well, the NFL draft 9 days away, I will be doing my own 2021 NFL redraft. With being a year removed from the 2021 NFL draft, I reshuffled some names and redrafted the top 5 picks from the 2021 draft. So I'm going to reshuffle the top 5 picks in the 2021 draft. Some of the names still might remain. Some of the names might be shuffled. So let's get down to it. My 2021 top 5 selection redraft. Jaguars obviously on the clock. And I had the Jaguars still selecting Trevor Lawrence #1 overall in the 2021 draft. I still really would have Trevor Lawrence over any talent that just came out of that draft. I know I'm repping a Dallas Cowboys hoodie. I know my guy Micah Parsons is a beast, but Trevor Lawrence can really has really set the table, set the tone for quarterbacks coming out of college, especially being basically the best draft talent in a lot of viewers' eyes, a lot of draft analysts' eyes, as the best quarterback to come out of college since Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck was the first overall pick in the 2012 NFL draft by the Indianapolis Colts. That's been some time, nearly 10 years in the making, I should say. And Trevor Lawrence, they said, has been the best quarterback that has came out since then. Obviously, he had a rough rookie season. Had a really rough rookie season. And the Jags had the #1 overall pick a year ago, and they're going to have the #1 overall pick again. So that basically tells you how Trevor Lawrence's rookie season went. He threw 12 touchdowns and led the league in interceptions at 17. But there's no need to panic about that. Obviously, Peyton Manning is an all-time great. One of the best quarterbacks that ever put on a helmet and put on a pair of pads. Obviously, he's an NFL Hall of Famer. And he won a Super Bowl with the Indianapolis Colts and the Denver Broncos. But you look at his rookie season. Peyton Manning had 26 touchdowns thrown and 28 interceptions. And I'm pretty sure everyone from Peyton Manning's rookie season was definitely saying, write this man off, he's a scrub. They're not saying that about Trevor Lawrence, but a lot of people were expecting way more from the first overall pick. But look at the circumstance that Trevor Lawrence was in. Obviously, with having a bad coach, one of probably the worst NFL coaching hire in NFL history in Urban Meyer, the man not even knowing who number 99 is on the Los Angeles Rams, not even game planning for arguably the best defensive player of this decade in Aaron Donald. That was his head coach. So pump the brakes if anybody's thinking that Trevor Lawrence isn't that guy, or he's going to be a bust, or he's not going to be the best quarterback in this draft class. I think he will be for years to come when we look back at this draft class. And he showed some flashes towards the end of the season once Urban Meyer got fired. The highlight of his season, I think, was helping his team win against the Indianapolis Colts and shattering their playoff hopes, beating them in Jacksonville Week 18. But they hired Doug Peterson, a guy who knows how to win, the former Eagles head coach, a former Super Bowl winner, won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles as a backup, brought the best out of him, brought the best out of Carson Wentz. So I think Trevor Lawrence will be just fine. I think Doug Peterson is really going to take his game to the next level next year. And I think he could really be, and the Jaguars could be, if they improve and draft well, they could be one of, if not fighting for a final wild card seed. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm just saying it's a prediction that they could be in that seat. So we go to the #2 overall pick in my 2021 redraft. The Jets are on the clock and they select Justin Fields. I had the Jets selecting Justin Fields over Zach Wilson. The Zach Wilson train has been derailed. It left the station and has never came home from the station. Never been found, never been heard from again. I was one of the guys who hyped him up in the preseason. I said he was looking at looking like the best quarterback, looking like $1 million, looking like I said he had the intangibles of Aaron Rodgers playing for the New York Jets, and I thought they found their future quarterback. And obviously things can change, but what I'm looking at is all the hype, all the glamour was around him in August come preseason. And he didn't look like the same guy down the stretch for 18 weeks in the NFL. Obviously got hurt throughout the season, but originally I really thought last year in this draft that the Jets should have drafted Justin Fields, the 2nd overall in this draft. And if this is the redraft, I really would have had Justin Fields over Zach Wilson. And I believe it really would have been a better fit for Justin Fields for his career if he would have got drafted by the New York Jets. The Jets' rookie season, his rookie season in Chicago really wasn't going as planned. Matt Nagy obviously falling behind and losing his job, not really keeping up with him and grooming him into the quarterback that we all know Justin Fields really could be. And he really didn't have a did he really have a fair chance because Matt Nagy was really rolling with Andy Dalton as the guy when you had guys in the locker room saying start Justin Fields. You traded all the way up and gambled with him. Obviously making negotiations with the New York Giants to go all the way up in that draft and select him. Why not go all in on him? Matt Nagy, Justin Fields could have really had a high chance to really save your job. Obviously, he only started a few games because they were rotating quarterbacks. Obviously, Justin Fields was going through in his rookie season. But I like the flashy abilities that Justin Fields really showed in his game during his rookie season, making plays with his arms, making plays with his legs, everything that he's done in his collegiate career at Ohio State. And he did it. He was showing flashes of a promising career with a terrible offensive line in Chicago. Long term wise, I think the Jets will regret taking Zach Wilson over Justin Fields. And the future is bright for Justin Fields. I think he's really going to show a lot of flashes this year and year two. Third overall pick, the 49ers are on the clock, and I'm going with Trey Lance. The 49ers still drafting Trey Lance in my 2021 redraft. I believe Trey Lance can be the diamond in the rough for the San Francisco 49ers for years and years and years to come. They played their cards right last year, obviously letting Jimmy Garoppolo start the whole entire season, having Trey Lance back him up throughout the season, and it paid off for them. They beat the Dallas Cowboys in the wild card. They beat the Green Bay Packers in the divisional round, got all the way to the NFC Championship game. It could have arguably been a few plays away from going to the Super Bowl against that Rams defense, but I think they really played their cards right, having Trey Lance sit behind Jimmy Garoppolo for a year. And I think Jimmy G's time in San Francisco is going to be done, whether they trade him in the next few weeks, whether they trade him at draft night, if they have to release him come training camp. I don't think he'll be with the 49ers come week one of the 2022 season. Trey Lance really did look promising in my eyes and a lot of people's eyes in the few games that he did get to start with Jimmy Garoppolo being injured. In his two starts against the Arizona Cardinals, obviously they lost that game. He looked really good in that game. And then the win when they started him against the Houston Texans, he really looked good. I really liked what I seen in those two games against the Cardinals and the Texans. Think about this. Kyle Shanahan is one of the best offensive geniuses, if not the best offensive genius in the NFL. I think Sean McVay is over top of him. I would have Kyle Shanahan as the second best offensive coach in the league. Actually third because Andy Reid's still around. So the third best offensive coach in the league. Kyle Shanahan, think about this. Kyle Shanahan has only worked with pocket quarterbacks his whole entire career. When he was the offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders when they were the Washington Redskins, he had Kirk Cousins. He brought out the best out of Kirk Cousins. You look at his time in Atlanta when he helped Matt Ryan become an MVP and was the offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons when they got all the way to the Super Bowl. He did a good job with Matt Ryan. Put up the best season of his career when he was in Atlanta. Then you look at Jimmy Garoppolo, a guy who looked like he could have been Tom Brady's backup if Tom Brady stayed in New England for the next decade or so. But they took him in San Francisco. Obviously, I still think Jimmy G is an average system quarterback, but he brought the best out of Jimmy Garoppolo. They went to a Super Bowl and lost, obviously. But they went to this year's NFC Championship with Jimmy Garoppolo not even putting up offensive numbers. Now think what he can do with a dual threat guy who can make plays with his arms, make plays with his legs, run an RPO system offense with a guy in Trey Lance. He's never done it before. And if you think he's an offensive genius, imagine the play calls he would have for Trey Lance. It would be something special. RPO, and they would be a threat. Once Trey Lance gets his feet wet and develops his game, I think he's going to take a year or so for Trey Lance to develop his game and be a good quarterback. I think all the draft picks that you gave up to get the third overall pick last year, negotiating and exchanging picks with the Miami Dolphins, you gotta you got to start him. It's like having a Ferrari with no engine. Having the Ferrari, it's just sitting in your drive-through for. You're just gonna let it sit there for years? No, you gave up so much to get that Ferrari. You want to drive it. Make sure it works. Make sure that's the right car for you. And that's what the San Francisco 49ers really need to do with Trey Lance. They need to figure out if this is the guy. If they gave up all the picks, that's on them. But Trey Lance definitely needs to start, in my opinion, next year. And I think this was the right pick for the San Francisco 49ers at 3. At 4, in my 2021 redraft, the Atlanta Falcons are on the clock, and I had them actually drafting Jamar Chase over Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts has been a great talent. It could be one of the best tight ends coming out of college ever. But Jamar Chase had the best receiving numbers, and obviously had the best rookie wide receiver season all time, in my opinion, hands down. The Falcons are very thin at wide receiver. Talking about right now, they traded Julio Jones last season. I mean, they cut Julio Jones. No, traded Julio Jones. Excuse me. Calvin Ridley is suspended for the whole entire 2022 season, and they lost Rasul Gage in free agency to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Jamar Chase, in my opinion, had, like I just said, the best rookie season as a wide receiver. 1,455 yards receiving, 13 touchdowns. Now, that probably could have saved Matt Ryan's job in Atlanta. Obviously, they're going with Marcus Mariota, which I think they're going to be the worst team in football the way how their depth chart is right now. No matter how they draft, no matter what they do come week 1, I think they're going to go down as the worst team in football this season. But I think you really could have kept him there instead of trading him to Indianapolis and giving him maybe another season or so there in Atlanta. If you give him Jamar Chase, obviously I'm not knocking my guy Kyle Pitts from Florida, but who would you rather have in your offense, Jamar Chase or Kyle Pitts? Which makes the final selection in my top 5 NFL 2021 NFL redraft. You have the Bengals selecting Kyle Pitts because Jamar Chase is no longer on the board, and this is the next best offensive player that's left on the board because obviously you have Joe Burrow as a quarterback. You go with Kyle Pitts. I think the pick should have been flipped. If we could go back in a time machine, I think this would have really happened. It really wouldn't have really hurt the Bengals' offense if you think about it. They selected Kyle Pitts and Jamar Chase was going at 4 to the Atlanta Falcons because the receiver core would still be set. They would still have T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and then you have Kyle Pitts at the tight end position. This offense obviously wouldn't be as explosive because Jamar Chase is a talent that could be around for years and years to come. But you still have could be a trend-setting tight end. Kyle Pitts, I believe, could be transitioned to a slot position if he really wanted to. Could bully a lot of slot corners. He has the speed to. He's got the athleticism to. But it'll be interesting to see how the Atlanta Falcons use him in the future. I think this would have been great if Kyle Pitts would have been drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals. They could have run a jumbo set, a double tight end formation. They could have had Kyle Pitts and C.J. Uzomah at the tight end position. You still have Joe Burrow at quarterback. You still have Joe Mixon at running back. And you still have T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd on the outside at wide receiver. So if we could go back in time for right now from when the 2021 NFL draft was in 2021, that would be my top 5 selections in my redraft. I think I nailed it. I think Trevor Lawrence should have went still first overall. I think Zach Wilson should have definitely not went second overall. Justin Fields should have been the guy. Trey Lance at the 3rd pick for the 49ers. Jamar Chase with the Atlanta Falcons at 4, and then Kyle Pitts going to the Cincinnati Bengals at